about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah, I wasn't plugged in. See, you got to be plugged in to get the sound. Uh, Allegedly. So, for you guys that have heard a chat before, do you think the audio is better or worse than when I use my normal Bose headset? I'm trying out the Silinx tonight to see if I can get better mic quality. What do you guys think? Okay. Well, you guys seem to be happy with it. If you're happy, I'm happy. Really? I can't remember my Patreon login. That's great. Um, all right. Good to go. Well, not really good to go. It wants me to verify this tablet. I'll play your silly games. Verify device. All right. Wonderful. Okay. Let's let the healing begin. So today's episode is brought to you by High Octane. It's my ex's coffee shop back in North Carolina. Please go there if you're local. Get yourself some good coffee and help put my son through college. But that's not actually high-end octane coffee in there. We've got Death Wish Coffee Company, K-Cups. Also, actually not brought to you by these guys because nobody pays me any money to use their shit. I just buy it and then I use it and then I make them money. My entire business plan needs to be relooked at. But no, seriously, I really do like these people's coffee, and I thought it was going to be like hipster, Black Rifle, Death, fucking whatever company coffee, gun industry crossover bullshit. But that they got some ass to them, and I like it, and so that's what I'm using. So, sorry, Matt Best. I like your coffee too, but these guys they're good. They're good stuff. Mm. Okay. Where are we at? I need to go to. No, 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 no. Come on, slow ass tablet. I promised the 25 and uppers that I was going to answer their questions first, so I got to find that. I got to find that. Aha, here we go. You guys are. 25 and uppers are giving you guys a break. They're not totally taking up all my freaking time. All right, so Terrebone wants to know what questions don't people ask me? Like people that don't know what they don't know. What questions aren't they asking about? And which ones do they play out? And which ones do people that don't know what they don't know? What are they hyper focused on that an action guy or former action guys can be like, dude, that's kind of minutia, man. Fucking, you need to be worrying about bigger shit. If I can understand what Bowen is trying to throw out there, that's kind of a bigger question. So I'm going to do that last, so we can kind of ramp up into a little talking segment. I want to hit a couple quick hits and then get into a bigger thing. So I got you, Bowen, just not this second. Second question from Dan. Low power variable optic mount heights, 154 versus 119 versus 204. Right now, I do not have a preference necessarily between 193 and 204 as far as mounting the rifle and being able to do work. They're very, very similar. If you have a 193, you're probably good with it. You don't need to pay to upgrade to 204. If you think you're going to use a clip-on night vision device on this weapon system, then potentially getting a 204 so that you can put a 1/2-inch riser on your rail and then run your clip-on on a 1/2-inch riser on top of your forearm rail. That's going to get you a 204. So you're going to have center alignment of the optical axis of the whatever sciencey optical shit. You're going to have that clear through your LPVO, through your clip-on night vision device, and you're not going to get any offset partial screen and potentially some shot divergence shenanigans going on. So that's a good thing. But most guys that use clip-on NVDs don't do it on their assault rifles usually. And the reason for that is because usually when you're using your assault rifle, you're operating under nods and a laser, and you're not in a static, position where you're scanning in a sector like you are when you're hunting or when you're in an Overwatch or an intermediate support by fire or a blocking position or something like that. So your SPRs, your designated marksman rifles, those weapons are going to have that more intended purpose. So when I'm building, and it's really blurred line because my SPR might be a 14.5-inch gun, my assault rifle might be a 14.5-inch gun, and they both might have low power variable optics on them. But one is absolutely my SPR, and one's absolutely a daytime assault gun. Two totally different jobs. And you're like, but I'm confused, Chuck. They're 14.5 inches, and they have low power variable optics. I know, but I'm the boss. I do what I want to do. And it might just be the difference between the flashlight or the laser placement or something else. There's some other thing, some other metric other than what we're talking about, the mount height, the magnification, or the barrel length, that in my mind says, yep, I'm going to assault people with that gun during the daytime, and I'm going to shoot people from a static position and be able to move with an assault element and conduct clearance operations with that rifle over there. So I would be more inclined to have a 204 over a 193 if I had any idea that I was going to be throwing a clip on that rifle. If I knew that was not the key, that wasn't the factor that I was looking for, then I would be totally okay with a 193. The higher up you go, the more you're having to crane your neck. So when you go from this really great upright shooting down into belly shooting, the faster you're going to get fatigued. You can absolutely feel a difference in the pain in your body, and you shouldn't be in pain when you're shooting. But the pain in your neck from firing 154 to 193 and 193 and 204 kind of sort of feel the same, but maybe 204 is a little bit worse because you're having to jut that head up more right to center your eye optically behind that in that eye box of that optic, and you're not like total lazy man. Yeah, check me out, PRS. You know, and so because you're not sleeping on your gun, your head up, chin on the weapon, you can only hold that for so long until you're going to get neck fatigue. So for a dedicated SPR gun, I would use a 154. For a day-night assault gun that I would use a clip-on with, I would use a 204. And for just a daytime only assault gun, I would use a 193 or 204. Flip a coin; it doesn't matter. So there's low power variable optics in a nutshell. Next question, John Harris. When it comes to developing skills, what drills should one focus on first? The no-fail shot or drills like the Bill drill. I've heard local instructors say if you can land it in a 6x6 square at 15 yards, you're good on the accuracy side. Focus on picking up your speed. Would you say the no-fail shot concept should replace that mindset and that Bill drill distances should be pushed to develop a combination of both speed and accuracy? So, first sentence, when it comes to developing skills, what drills should one focus on first? Drills are a diagnostic. They can be practiced in order to concentrate on certain speed aspects, but I prefer to break a drill down when I'm trying to get better, because a drill is almost always going to focus on multiple things. Or on the buzzer, turn, draw, shoot twice again. Well, okay. Turn, that's physical movement. Like, if I want to be super awesome, I need to go to a functional movement coach and get out there on the football field with cleats on freaking turf and have that dude break down my fast twitch and my movement. How am I turning? How am I explosively moving my body? So this dude is the subject matter expert on me turning the fuck around. And you're like, whoa, whoa. Yes. Like, yes, that's a thing. Learning how to physically turn 180 degrees most efficiently is one element of that drill. The proper holster drawn presentation, another element of that drill. Accurately engaging the target with the first shot out of the holster, another element of that drill. A second rapid follow-up shot, recoil control, tracking the gun, trigger reset, another element of that drill. Moving to the other target to target, physical movement of the gun with my eyes out in front and driving the gun to where I want it to go, another element of that drill. So if I just keep turning around, draw, shoot two, at some point I'm going to get better at certain aspects of that, and I'm still going to be getting hung up on other aspects of that. Maybe I'm getting the gun out of the holster fast, but my presentation is all wrong and I'm not picking up my sights until way late. So the other three shots that I'm shooting after the turn and the draw are wasted when it comes to my overall performance of being better for that drill. So I don't like training to a drill. I like doing a drill, breaking down what I screwed up, having that come up in my face using the pro timer and the target to keep me honest, and then attacking vigorously that weakness in my shooting skill set. So that first off, that's the whole point. That the entire first sentence was kind of written or structured kind of sketchy. So accuracy always beats speed. Accuracy always beats speed. The only time that accuracy is not going to beat speed is if you are at a distance where the effective gunfire or stabbing or being bludgeoned over the head with a lead pipe whatever that offensive action against you is can potentially and has a potentially we're going from possibility to almost probability that it is going to remove you from the fight before you can fucking circle X that dude. Otherwise, circle X that dude. And I mean that's it. Like I can't. All these guys that have won gut by like, I didn't see my sights, I was moving, da 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 da. Guess what? That's broken watch twice a day stuff. I've been in rooms where dudes have sustained 10 plus rounds of rifle fire. And in the time that they sustained 10 plus rounds of rifle fire, they were able to shoot more than one person that was shooting them because none of those rounds of rifle fire were immediately incapacitating. And so when I look at a guy firing an NSR, pow, 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 versus a guy going click, pow, that's the difference between turning a dude off forever. The last thing that ever went through that dude's mind was your bonded round. That is where it is at. Once you've seen how fast a human's soul will leave their body, you can't ever, ever, ever be an advocate for good enough. I'm okay with good enough outside of dude can hurt me ranges. If a guy is hauling butt because either he's read the tea leaves and he realizes that he doesn't want to be where he's at, he's not running away necessarily. He could be repositioning to a more advantageous tactical position to re-engage my element. And his back may or may not be facing me when that's happening. That's a hard shot. That guy's moving. He's moving at a real good clip. If I get any piece of that guy, it's going to throw him all off. He's chucking. I'm going to live today. I'm going to live today. Pow! Comes right through his clavicle. Ah! Dude falls over, tumbles, strips, falls. Maybe the AK goes flying. Maybe he starts scrambling for it. Now he ain't running at 10 miles an hour. He's crawling at 2 miles an hour. Bow, 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 bow. And something in there is going to be a critical hit. But the time process needed to immediately shut off his lights is not there because he's not in my face, shanking me with a dagger at that exact moment. So a bigger factor of speed versus accuracy is distance, duration, and true danger of the threat that is facing you. How close are you to dying? But the old adage that John Shaw used to say when he was dominating, bowling pin shooting and stuff like that back in the early 80s was, if you don't have time to aim, you don't have time to miss. So, what is it going to take to shut this guy down? And I'm about to put out another drill that is got an accuracy standard with a handgun that you have to be able to hit an inch. You have to be able to hit a 1 inch pasty at 10 yards on the clock. And people are going to look at that and be like, what the hell? Well, if you can do that in real time, now get your ass moving. Now get his ass moving. Now throw potential no shoots between you and him where you're threading the needle. If you can make that gun go off when you want that gun to go off and center punch a pasty at 10 yards, you can hit minute of a head with screaming bitches in the mall, strollers rolling by, babies, shit going on, whatever. You can and make that shot. One will definitely transfer over to the other. Now, the flip side of that is you can't be Bullseye Dan back at 25 shooting slow fire all the time and expect that you can just magically one day turn on the gas. You have to practice accepting mediocrity to shoot faster. It is a conscious decision that I'm going to give up perfection, because perfection is what you have at the high end of accuracy shooting. Perfection of your fundamentals. what am I going to get away with? What can I get away with at this distance in terms of flashlight picture, jacked up grip coming out of the holster, whatever? What can I accept and still get good enough hits? Uh, Frankly, it's one of the reasons why I'm getting into competition, guys. Somebody asked on the thing, why are you back into competition, Chuck? I'm back into competition, and when I say back, like for the first time ever, I'm not back. I'm going into competition. I shoot one match about every 1 to 3 years to prove to myself that gaming is still dumb and it's not something that I want to invest my time or effort into. Because I was getting everything that I needed from gaming from work. And now I don't work anymore. Now I'm retired. And I went to a competition and I felt a level of stress that I had not been put under while shooting a firearm. Yeah, I've been under a lot of stress. But while shooting a firearm and trying to engage in deliberate problem solving, there was a level of stress there that I had not felt since I was shooting back with the boys. And I realized that it was a complete missing element. The only other thing that was more stressful was turning on a video recorder and having to perform for you guys on demand and not miss to do a drill. Those two things really pushed me and made me think back to a time where I operated in controlled chaos every day. And I honestly think that it has to be a part of your training regimen. It has to. So if going to play games with dudes that take competition serious, and when I call it a fucking game and I say that it's stupid, like it hurts them, that's the people I've got to go up and fight in this thing. People that are taking this shit dead fucking serious. And I show up clowning it, not taking it serious, fucked up gear, whatever. Yeah, they're probably mad. They probably want to push my shit in. All right, well, guess I got to really bring it now because I'm walking into somebody else's house clowning on their rules and then trying to beat them at their game. That's a whole nother level of self-induced stress. And man, you better be able to perform. You better be able to perform because you can't talk crap about dudes that shoot competition and shooting enthusiasts that love competition and say that it's hokey or whatever, which, by the way, I've never said competition is hokey. So there are things that about competition that would not be transferable into a fight, which I think most tactical shooters will tell you. But I will say that there's less shit that's directly transferable to a fight than probably most of the other guys. Noner and me and some other guys were on the same sheet of music about that because we were all taught by gamers. And we absolutely used what they taught us in real gunfights. So, Rob Latham taught me how to shoot. Voight, bless his heart, guy taught me how to shoot. Jerry Micklick, he taught me how to shoot. John Shaw, like these people, Dave Savigny, these guys, they're real people. And when you've really been on the range with them, they're talking to you about the cutting edge of human performance. So you've got to have your fundamentals locked down. And that's why if you are self-teaching, that's why I believe that, consistency in the fundamentals is more important than any of the advanced skill sets for a long period of time. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I learned how to shoot because I bought a $2,000 Wilson CQB and $1,000 worth of Dillon 650 progressive reloader, and I started shooting 500 rounds a week. Now I had the choice between driving 40 minutes and having a membership at an outdoor action shooting place that had shooting bays and I could run around and do whatever, or going to and being confined to a booth and single target 15 minutes away from my house. And I talked to a mentor of mine who was an advanced assaulter and said, what should I do? I can only afford one of these memberships. My wife will kill me. He goes, take the indoor range. Why? because you'll go there. Rain or shine, winter, whenever, you will go there and nobody else is going to interrupt your training. Said, will they let you shoot from the draw? Yes, after I show proficiency, yeah. They'll let you rapid fire shoot from the draw and do mag changes. Yes. Okay. You can start worried about multiple target engagements and shooting on the move when you can center punch a 1-inch square at 10 yards out of the holster in sub 2 seconds consistently. That's when you need to move on to all those other things. So I made a conscious decision to only work shooting on the move and multiple target engagements and all that other stuff when I paid extra money or when I shot matches going outdoors. And I locked myself in a booth for 2 hours twice a week. I shot 200 rounds on Tuesdays and 300 rounds on Thursdays. And I did that for over 6 months. And when I got done with that, I was a fucking heart attack. 500 rounds a week for 6 months in a single booth with a single target sorted me out. So, and everything you guys have seen since then is just that was the foundation. That was the poured concrete that I let sit and set and cure. And then everything else since then has been stacked on that. These guys that try to go to point shooting, they try to go to shooting fast, shooting early, they're building a house on sand. All right. Next one. I guess that's it for the 25ers other than Bone. I got to go back and talk to Bone. I don't think there's a lot of questions that people don't ask that they should. I think that it almost goes to the other direction. I think guys ask about things that ultimately are kind of intuitive, you know. Gunfights aren't pretty. They don't look like Hollywood. You know, I see dudes trip in room, yard sales, you know, broken flashlights broken off of weapons, hanging, dangling by the pressure switch, still on and making like this lantern pattern in the room while the guy's getting after it because he tripped on a dead body 2 feet coming in the door. Like, I've seen some hilarious Keystone Cop shit. And at the end of the day, like, the good guys always won. So, you know, I guess there's a mindset component to that or whatever, but I don't want to discount gear because the flip side to that coin is that the dudes that I respected as peers were never, ever happy with their kit. They were always in the kit room, moving something around, trying to squeak an extra bit of performance out of it, you know, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Every single outstation that I've ever been to overseas had a rigger sewing machine in it on the property book, shipped forward. A rigger heavy duty sewing machine, and then a rack built by the engineers with dowels that went through it and rolls of 500,000D Cordura, tweed fabric, mesh, rolls of Velcro, 2-inch, 4-inch. So the ability for guys to literally snip, 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 and like manufacture their own kit to suit their own needs. I've seen dudes build entire plate carriers from scratch because they're deployed for 120 days and they're bored. So if you're asking questions about how to improve your gear or whatever, those are good questions. They really are. The problem with the internet is you never know the source of the answers that you're getting, and what works for one guy might not work for another dude. Like really, there are some cases where there's no right answer. It's only personal preference. We talked about this talking about Shrek on the last Q&A. I think somebody on most things, I will tell you that there is a preferred technique, and then there's another technique, like a Isosceles Weaver. And like at some point, You can be a bad son of a bitch on Weaver, but at some point you're going to plateau, and another 10 million rounds is not going to get you any higher because you are now at the apex of that technique. It cannot ascend any higher. Sometimes the easier or substandard technique will get you gains faster. And then this one is it's the turtle. It's going to win the race. But if I take two people with 0 rounds and 0 hours of training, this dude is this much better, exponentially faster in 10 minutes or less because he power strokes or whatever. This guy creeping along, learning the technique, building in the neural pathways, doing his stuff, whatever. Now I throw a million rounds on both of those guys, bam, and it looks like this. But not all techniques are that way. It is very, very much possible that you've got, whatever Shrek's got going on with what he's teaching, and then like mainstream firearms, whatever, and they're just different. And that doesn't mean that they're better or worse, or that if you put in this much technique and this one, if you put in the same amount of rounds, whatever. Obviously, Shrek believes you put in the same amount of time, the same amount of bullets, his techniques can get you further, or else he wouldn't be using that technique. Until I have gone all in and tested out that other technique, I can't compare apples to oranges because I don't know. I'm only this guy standing over on this plateau with this amount of experience or knowledge or whatever. And I'm looking across and I'm seeing stuff and I'm like, I understand why he's saying that. That makes sense, but I can't advocate if it's better or worse. And so that's the problem with technique, because a lot of times there's dudes, yeah, man, it's personal preference. Bullshit. There's stuff on the internet that is not personal preference. You're fucking wrong. And and science and the pro timer and the paper and the entire span of professionals in the world will tell you you're wrong. So cool story to get out of an internet argument, bro. Well, it's personal preference. But then there's other stuff that I'm kind of like, yeah. So, Bone, we could talk about that some more, man. I think people get. Thank God, people were hyper focused on caliber, and I'm not saying that we should just, oh God, the FBI says so we should do. But those are pretty smart fucking dudes, man. If we start second guessing every subject matter expert about everything, all we are is a bunch of Democrats. 9 mil kills people, dead. It does. And so I think that was one of those things that we were hyper focused on 10 years ago. So what's today's hotbed argument that people are super focused on? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm a creature of habit. I'm not beyond learning some new shit. I learned some stuff about sling management this weekend. Watching some videos from some other instructors, and I was like, huh. One of which was using a do-it-yourself technique. He posted it on his Patreon page, and I have the exact same piece of hardware on my VTAC sling, but I'm running it down on the other end to hold my tail of my VTAC so it doesn't flop around on one of my older VTACs before they had the Velcro retention tab. And he took it and put it on the other side of the sling so that you could route the S-fold back on itself and then tighten it down, and it held the sling up against the side of the gun without having to use a rubber band. And I'm like, man, I've got a sling that adjusts just like that, and it has that exact same piece of hardware on it, and I got to rubber band it to the side of my stock. I had every tool that I needed to do it yourself, secure that sling on my rifle without the use of an external rubber band, and I had never seen it. So I'm not beyond learning new stuff, guys. So pretty cool. All right, that's it, 25ers. We're moving down to the $10 questions. Moving down to these $10 questions. $10 guys, y'all got a lot more questions. Boop. Load all of the comments. What pistol rifle drills do you think benefited you the most and why? I think I covered that before, that I don't do drills to get better necessarily. I do drills more as a diagnostic, and then I come up with or think of things that will help me shoot that better. That being said, there are some mainstays. I think to kind of focus on the accuracy versus speed kind of component, I think the Bianchi Cup is probably, which is a steel shooting drill, is probably the best. Like, I think it's the best diagnostic of gun handling that we had for pistol diagnostics where I used to work. And it was a 6-target plate rack. I believe they were 6-inch plates. And you had to shoot it at 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards, and 25 yards with an increasing par. And you counted misses. So lowest score won, like golf. And it was an extremely good drill because you had to get the gun out, you had to shoot, you had to move the gun. You couldn't be camping out on targets, prepping your trigger all day. You were going to miss. And you would see guys that would miss, and their par would be 6, and they'd be 3:48 or 4 seconds, and they have a miss. The guy at 5.99 with all of his plates is the winner. So it showed guys' ability to speed up and slow down, in order to make hits. So 25-meter slow fire is practicing perfection and then measuring that perfection with a score so that you could see whether you're getting better or worse. A bill drill is practicing your recoil control, how fast you can pull the trigger, and your ability to manage recoil and keep the gun flat. Complete fucking speed drill. And shooting bill drills over and over and over and over and over again, it is going to show you what you're doing, and you can practice different techniques, different ways of holding the gun, presenting the gun, using your shoulder, using your body mechanics or whatever. But at the end of the day, I like multifunction shooting events that make shooters have to switch gears and think about each shot like its own event. So like the brain as a ballistic computer is running. You're coming around a piece of cover. There is a target X amount of distance away, obstructed by this much. I've got this going on. This is what's happening as far as my time standard. I don't have all day to be camped out on this target. I'm trying to make a good time. What ballistic solution do I have to achieve? Do I have to see in my eyes before I let that round fly to ensure success in the least amount of time? And that's where that gunfighter brain kicks in. And competitors are very, very good at that. High-end competitors are very, very good at that. Joe K's asking about nods. So the PVS 31 Alpha is still under the control of the federal government. The DoD owns the technical design package for that set of nods. So take them off the list. Guess what? They're not my favorite nods anyway. I never used them. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have a pair, but so my fave dual tubes are Sentinels. Obviously, I'm kind of partial because I helped design I helped the engineer with the design of it, the human factors piece of it. So I was actually spinning them around in the CAD and moving stuff around with the engineer. So they're my baby. I've seen Sentinels on two-dimensional artwork before it was ever a thing, and I absolutely Appreciate Chris Adams from Adams Industries for trusting my opinion enough to take the time to sit me down with his engineer and help iron out some of, looking at it from the end user's mind and the engineer's design mind, and then coming together in that mind meld and creating a really good piece of kit. So I'm a big fan of the Sentinel, obviously. Um, I would say Sentinels are probably my favorite dual tube. I don't have as much time with the DTNVGs, BNBDs, the plastic housing. I've seen a lot of cracks on the joint on BNBDs when you flip them, where they flip up and out. ITT's little baby dual tubes they're kind of cool. So, but best nods, money be damned, you can get 31 alphas. So I would pay for a 31 alpha housing with a good set of tubes in it and run them until you break them. And then when you break them and L3 won't fix them, take the tubes and put them in a set of Sentinels. There you go. And I only say that because the Sentinel does not have a rotate out capability. It only rotates up, which is fine for me because I use Aviator's ball detent. And guys that don't use Aviator's ball detent seem to be the ones that always want to have their nods down and just rotate one shit out of the way or another shit out of the way. And I think it's a factor of their mounting solution is shit. And that's why they're trying to do all this other stuff. Whereas my ability to go up to down, up to down, up to down is essentially as fast as you moving one out of your way or whatever. But guys want to do, still be able to see green and look at a radio face and read a map and whatever. There are a bunch of tactical reasons why the independently swiveling nod is a good idea. And just because I've never used one, that doesn't mean that I don't advocate their use. They're probably great. And I would come up with all kind of cool tactics, techniques, and procedures that I could use if I could keep one nod down and rotate one out of the way or whatever. But because I never used the 31, I was never issued the 31, and the 31 didn't come in ball detent, I ain't got a 31. My favorite nod, and I love Sam and Don from TNBC. Those guys are awesome. Don's not from TNBC, but he's whatever, partnered up. They're not big fans of the ground panoramic night vision goggle. They just don't like the weight. They don't like the weight of the system, and it's a heavy system. But after running around and interfacing with my environment, and going from 40 degrees horizontal to 92 degrees horizontal field of view, especially for things like doing room clearing, I have felt naked under nods since giving up my GPMVGs. They are, as far as long-term investment of my business model, my number one purchasing priority. As soon as I can get out of debt and actually start getting into the red, getting into the pink, getting into the green, whatever the stupid term is. As soon as I got me some money, 30 grand worth, I'm buying a set of GPMVGs with high FOM white tubes, and I will not touch another set of nods unless we bust into some fusion or somebody cracks digital or something like that. I will run GPMVGs for the next 20 years until I die because they're that good. I've been wearing 4 tubes since before the GPMVG existed. I started out with the Air Force goggles, and I just can't say enough good things about the system. They're really good. Second best, middle of the pack. Man, PBS 15s, talk about a heavy nod. PBS 15s are a brick, but man, they're durable. That is a durable long term. If you want like a buy once, cry once, like those things were built for Navy SEALs. And They're freaking Ranger proof. Those nods are built like a brick shithouse. So a set of 15s would not be bad. And then budget PVS 14 with a freaking Army Rhino. That's not a terrible set of knots. Your plastic J arm is going to break. You just need to know that. But that janky Army Rhino, metal aluminum Rhino on the single hole plate, and a regular PVS 14 are actually really durable items. It's the thing that connects the two that's crappy. If you want to go super pimp and go Wilcox and this and that and whatever, that's fine. But I would almost say, to save your money for a set of dual tubes, or for the mount for your next set of nods or whatever, and just, if you're going to have a single eye, solution, unless you plan on staying with that single eye solution for more than 5 years, I wouldn't invest crazy money in a mount. Mounts, Wilcox. It's a third of the cost of your nod to appropriately mount it on your head. But your night vision is a system. Everything from the suspension of your helmet to the pads, or brim, adjustable brow thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. Ocklock kind of shit on OpsCore, which I'm not a fan of. But all of that, it's all designed to stabilize the night vision on your head. So you got to have a good helmet. You got to have a good suspension system in the helmet, to include adjustable chin strap and nape, and then a good solid mount up that has the minimum amount of slop or moving around on it, so that you can keep your nod centered up in the eye box over your dominant eye. So that's ultimately what you're looking for. So, ground panoramic night vision goggles, PVS 31s, Sentinels, PVS 15s, PVS 14s. There you go. Next question. Work pistol setup. Okay. All right. We'll talk about that. And then Landfair asks after that, if you were to design a pistol from the ground up, what are the top 3 features that it would have specifically, and why? So I guess that all kind of run in together. So I guess we'll talk about pistols next. Okay. So this was my duty gun for a while. It had a Magwell on it. It had a Dawson. It had a Dawson Ice on it. Had a back strap put on there as well. You guys keep asking about the back strap. Yes, this is a 3D printed back strap. So I'm not going to go too much into it, because I'm actually trying to bring this to the market. I have Vickers slide stop. I cannot use the factory extended teardrop to the rear slide stops. I ride them too hard, and the gun won't lock to the rear. But the Vickers comes out. Vickers comes out from the gun and then cuts back down. So it creates like a triangular effect that allows for better purchase, whereas the Glock factory comes out and then kind of goes straight down. So, and there's also more aggressive ridging on the Vickers, so you can catch it when you're sweaty, bloody, muddy. I ran gas pedals, like full on JP, like gamer gun fucking gas pedals on my guns. Because I never once, not a single day, since I got rid of my 6004 that had my Beretta with integrated weapon light on it, the old school 2-cell 60 lumen gun light. I have not, since I got rid of that 6004, I have not used a Safariland downrange in combat. I've been all Blade Tech. So this is one of the holsters that I use downrange. Stephen Hilliard from Blue Force Gear gave me this thing back a few years ago. It was a Glock 34 dropped and offset, and it was in ACU lime green. And I took it from him with a light. I took it from him because I was looking for another holster. So when you put, these won't fit in here anymore because I took a heat gun to this. But when you're running these open tops, the gas pedal is not affected by the holster design. When you put an aftermarket gas pedal, into a Safariland, it is protected / hidden behind the Kydex. If you move this gun around in the holster, it will activate the mag release and your mag will come dislodged. And when you come out from the draw, you're going to draw and click, boom, and the magazine's going to fall out. So as soon as I started going to Safariland 63 whatevers, I realized that I had made a horrible mistake by having these gas pedals on my guns. But I've also been suffering from mag changes now because I've had to go over to either Vickers or full-size Glock. You guys may or may not know that the Glock 20, Glock 21, those mag releases will fit into Gen 3s, will fit into Gen 3 smaller frame guns, and they stick out way far. And so instead of buying a $30 extended fancy whatever, you can buy a factory extended by buying off of the larger frame gun. And then you just take a Dremel tool and you Dremel out around the edges of it. And I don't believe this is one of those. This is a Vickers, and the Vickers is a little bit short for me. It's okay. Maybe if I had this thing bored out like Boresight Solutions does, where they come all around and do whatever, maybe it would be a little bit good. But I have to break my grip to really get on this thing, partially as a result of the extra buildup that I have on the back strap to kind of help my grip angle on this thing. So once I went to Safarilands, I had to start looking at how that affected my grip angles. But before Safarilands, man, these two holsters right here, I ran this one when I ran irons. So this is my original Glock 19 with Surefire X200A holster, and all the way up to my 34, 35, whatever, it all stuck out of the front. And it took A, B, X300, all that shit fit in there. And so this is a Glock 19 holster, really beefy dropped offset. They don't make this style anymore. And this gun, or this holster, has been through hell and back with me. So when I got in my first pistol engagement with my Glock 19, I had this. When I got into my second pistol engagement, the really gnarly one where I almost ran out of bullets, I had this. And then when I switched after that engagement, I switched over to a red dot gun. This is a replica of my red dot gun. So I was carrying a comped KKM full-size duty pistol, not on a, this is on a Unity. This is one of the original prototype Unity slides. But I was carrying I had a factory aim point dovetail mount, which was not holding zero. And the factory dovetail mount for the aim point had a single set screw in there. So I had my gunsmith, he drilled and tapped 2 more set screws into the thing, and he JB welded the entire plate to the slot. So the aim point wasn't moving after that. It was good to go. Yeah, Pistol Light, Ice Magwell, had a back strap on it, and aim point micro. This gun is awesome. This gun is so amazingly awesome. To this day, still my favorite Glock. Still my favorite Glock. Love shooting this pistol. This pistol will outperform any human being's Glock 34 on the planet. I'll fucking put money on it. The compensated gases coming out of this thing with full power duty ammo is just amazing. Love it to death. So also gas pedal, Vickers gas pedal Vickers, and then trigger work. It had to be stock, you know. So we'd put in a Wolf spring kit without messing with the striker spring, and you could get away with putting a striker spring in if it was 40 because you weren't going to run across any type of military hard primed ammo. But that 882 124 grain 80 ball, it don't like anybody's springs other than Glocks. So you can't be putting no Zev or Wolf spring kits in your guns if you're going to be shooting 882 9mm or any of the Israeli surplus shit. It's all hard prime. So this gun, it's got a minus connector in it. This trigger pull is right at about 3 pounds, probably. Yeah, maybe a little bit less. And that's just from shooting it over and 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 over forever. So my duty gun did not have a rear sight. So as a result of it not having a rear sight and the fact that it was a tube, I had the front sight removed. And that is why the lime green, minty green Blade Tech holster don't work anymore. If you look at it, when I took this 34 holster and put it on a heat gun and jammed the gun in there to make room for the comp, it took the material channel for the front sight and it mashed it down to take the extra side stuff coming out. So that front sight post wedges in there and gives me little shavings off my front sight when I present the gun and then tell myself a story about it. So that is that's what's up right here. Love this gun. So it's all about the human interface, man. If it's going to be a duty pistol, size doesn't matter. Weight mostly doesn't matter. It's all about the human performance. So right now I'm shooting a Glock 17. I'm shooting a 17 right now because I'm waiting on my 34s. I'm getting a couple 34s done. I'm going to move because, again, if weight and size don't really matter, why am I carrying a 17 when I can carry a 34? If your holster for your duty gun looks like this, you need to have the biggest damn duty gun you can be carrying. There is no reason why a cop should have a 17 in a holster this damn big if they can have a 34 in a holster this damn big. So, yes, that extra mass of that slide and potentially that extra barrel length could help you out. It could help you out. Run your splits. Run your split times. I'm pretty sure that I can shoot a 34 faster than I can shoot this, just like I could shoot this faster than I can shoot a 19. So You want the pinnacle of equipment performance to match the pinnacle of your human performance to get you into the most lethal package that you can be when it comes time to apply deadly force. So the gun and everything about the gun needs to be set up for running for speed accurately. Every ounce of accuracy, every ounce of speed you can get out of this pistol, that's what you want out of this pistol. That's what you want out of this pistol. And if that closes the margins on your reliability, you need to know at what point do you have to stop. Like, I'm sure a compensator on this thing would probably make it run flatter. Not, it's within the margins. The 19 is at the ragged edge. The 17, comp 17, Now, if I put more gases in the gun, changed calibers, went to 40, now we're, yep, yes, no. Worth the squeeze, not worth the squeeze. All right. So I'm looking at the performance aspects of the pistol holistically. How much bang for my buck am I getting every time I put another gadget on the gun? What's that doing for me? What's that doing for me? What's that doing for me? What is it hurting? What is it taking away? Gas pedal hurts. Duty holster, gas pedal. Sorry, bro. You've been voted off the island. Now I got to retrain all this shit with my freaking hands to be able to get the damn magazine out of the gun. Because I've been so used to being able to hit that gas pedal and have that mag come jumping out of the gun for the last decade. And I don't have no gas pedal no more. Now I can take a Dremel tool to the inside of this duty holster and do it up. The problem that I have with that is potentially on a gun grab. If somebody was to come around and try to grab onto the gun and I started fighting them for it, are they going to hit that gas pedal with their thumb as I'm coming over the top and trap their shit and they're trying to get my gun out? When and if I finally fight them off me and I get my gun out, am I going to fire once and realize there's no mag in the gun because it's fallen out during the scramble? I think the gas pedal's probably a little bit too much for uniformed police work. I'm hypothesizing a little bit. You know, I have not had to roll in a ditch with a dude while wearing a badge in the United States. But I think a reasonable uneducated man would say that potentially the competition gas pedals are excessive for a patrol duty firearm. Maybe a SWAT gun, it's not. And when hundredths of seconds count, when people's lives are on the line in hostage rescue and you're a SWAT man, maybe not missing that mag release for that HR job, maybe it's worth that. I don't know. Things to think about. So that covers duty pistols. Lights on duty pistols. So vampires, 400s, U-boats, streamlights. If it is a patrol gun, U-boat or a streamlight, HL, HD, whatever, those are fine. If it's an entry gun and I'm with a NODS equipped element, then a vampire light for a sidearm. If it's shield, one of my two guns would be a 400, probably my offhand shooting gun, but maybe not. I don't know. I haven't figured that out enough. I don't have enough shield experience to speak intelligently. But ultimately, I think I would probably run an X400 IR if I was going to be under NODS, an X400 IR on a shield gun on strong side, and then an X400 Viz Green on my support side. If I'm still NODS down, it ain't going to hurt me. If something has changed and we've had to go NODS up, I can either do a gun pass or I can just run it off the left side. Or if I have to, I can punch out strong side because I no longer have a visible reference point. I mean, we can war game the what ifs of all that all day long. So yes, 300s, 300 used, 300 vampires, 400 vampire IRs, and 400 vampire visibles. They're all in my kit bag. Some combination of all of that, and then the damn Streamlight. If I just want a really bright white light, until 1,000 lumen Surefires come out, there's nothing. I have not seen anything wrong. There might be something wrong with everything else that Streamlight's making, but that one Streamlight gun light seems to work. Fits in my duty holsters. Fuck yeah, who don't? Let's do it. All right. What rifle-mounted IR illuminator and laser would you suggest? Really? And then somebody said this question, but best to the budget. The mall. If we're talking, okay, first we got to go government versus civilian. If we're going civilian, the Mall C1 Plus is the only laser out there that has a duty grade illuminator. The D2, it's good, but it's good up close. And you lose out at distance. It doesn't have throw because it's LED based. And because it's LED based, you're going to have muzzle side signature in the IR spectrum that's going to bleed over into the visual spectrum. What does that mean, Chuck? It means that if you're in total darkness, lazing a fool in your yard, and he looks over at you where you're hiding in a bush, he is going to see a red glow coming off of the front end of your big fat ass IR illuminator on the Steiner D2. And then Steiner also has that illuminator separate. And it's also really powerful and awesome as a separate unit too, but it has a muzzle side signature. So if you're hunting, the Steiner illuminators are freaking great. If you're hunting people, the Steiner illuminators are not as great. And if you're hunting in at distance, or hunting people at distance, once you go beyond 100 meters, you really start to lose that capability. I also don't have as much experience with the Steiners as far as defeating photonic barrier in an urban environment. So if I'm doing a walk-in approach, I don't know how much of that LED IR energy, because it's diffused and not culminated, is able to push past xenon or halogen street lighting that are really playing havoc on your nods, and then project into and throw into buildings so that you have situational awareness about whether or not windows that are facing you are occupied or unoccupied by people either trying to surveil or engage you with small arms. And so I consider that go, no go criteria. I cannot be walking through a city with the lights on and not be able to throw IR light around with impunity. I need to be able to IR flashy thing everything that is within my visual distance, because before I go walk out under that street light, I need to be reasonably sure that I'm not going to catch a belt fed in the ass for my effort. And so I have to be able to look across rooftops and in open windows, or even closed windows, but blinds open, and see into those darkened rooms and see people standing 3-4 feet back from a windowsill waiting to bust me in the ass when I walk under that street light. That's what IR illuminators do for me. And so power and culmination are both factors in that. If you are a department and you have LA5, L3 systems, I consider their illuminators to be adequate. I do not consider the PAC-15 to be an adequate illuminator. And people are like, dude, like the whole Army's been fighting 2 wars for 16 years with that laser. Yeah, still ain't adequate. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. If I went back into the hearts of men, I could find dead soldiers whose bodies are dead on that laser. That laser has bodies attached to it. I fucking promise you it does. But there's physics and there's FDA guidelines, and then there's you, this guy trying to have a capability, and all of that shit's got to coalesce together. So the short answer is there is no budget acceptable Class 1 IR laser. Doesn't exist. When you step up into lasers and nods, you're stepping up and into an entire another plane of existence. And so you just got to look at it that way. Like asking about budget IR lasers with actual capability, it's literally the equivalent to, like talking about having a full up Roland versus a high point. You know, a standard Glock 19 with iron sights, not iron, plastic sights, and no flashlight, man, in the right conditions, that's a very capable firearm. As soon as I take you out of those right conditions, firearm sucks. It sucks. It is not an all-weather, well, it's still all-weather. It's not an all lighting condition system. If I hand you a Glock 19 with plastic bunk-ass white fucking U sights on it, you wouldn't carry that day, night, rain, shine, without a torch, without any type of, high vis front sight to increase acquisition speed or anything like that. Like if you did, you realize you had some bunk ass shit. You'd be like, well, I'm carrying this, but it's all I got. Well, I could give you a Class 1 fucking laser pointer, and under the right lighting conditions, bust the dude's ass with that thing at night, wearing some bunk ass Gen 2 white Foss wannabe ATN freaking nods. Yes, I can create a lighting condition where, with the Russian nods on your face and a Class 1 IR pointer on your rifle, you could be an absolute lethal heart attack. And as soon as I take you out of those conditions, you're a complete shit show. All right. Next one. Question here about low power variable optic talk and using it with nods. So I have done it up close. The Vortex does not have a good IR setting on it. It still blooms out quite badly. I was told by somebody who used to be a sponsored SIG shooter that their low power variable optic, the one that got selected for the Army's squad designated marksman rifle, that thing has a legit night vision setting. So yeah, but it's a SIG optic. So, but he said he was running. This dude competed. He said that he ran that thing he ran a Vortex HD in 3-gun, and then when he was sponsored by SIG, he ran a SIG optic that replaced his Vortex, and he said that it was kind of a wash. He's like, eh. And then after SIG pulled his, dropped him or whatever because of the restructuring of the team, his SIG shot good enough that he didn't really see a reason to take it off and put the Vortex back on there. I found that very interesting. Like that was a pretty honest assessment, from a guy that was, used to wave the flag and then doesn't wave the flag anymore. And he still said, yeah, when I went back to having a choice of optics, I just stayed with the SIG. Interesting. I don't know how many of the other low power variable optics work with nods as a backup. As a general rule, my nighttime guns are the ones that I really, really worry about having a backup. My daytime guns are the ones that have LPVOs on it. I don't have a single night raid rifle that has an LPVO, and that has to do with the fact that the engagement distance and targets and being able to magnify. I'm stuck to the 1x magnification of my nods, maybe up to 3 power if I'm looking with a 3 power magnifier. But if I have a 3 power magnifier that I can put on my nod, Well, I'm getting 3 power magnification right there, and it's seeing my laser spot at 3 power magnification. So I don't need an LPVO on my rifle to fight at night. I just need to bring a 3 power for my nods. If my laser went down, then I would have a problem. And it's always good to be able to use your stuff as a backup. Um, but because my LPVOs go on daytime guns, that is very low on my criteria for selecting a 1 to 6. Doesn't have a nod capability or whatever. If you're a patrol rifle guy and you only have one rifle, uh, or maybe not a patrol rifle guy, a SWAT guy. If you're a SWAT guy and you only have one rifle and it's got LPVO on it, yes, then knowing how bad your optic is with being able to use your primary as a backup in the event that you run across somebody that has nods and it comes out over the radio, hey, he's shooting at me with my IR strobe on. Everybody go black out or whatever. And now man, if I turn this laser on, dude's going to see me. Then you might be in a situation where LPVO night vision setting matters. I think the next generation, all of them are going to delve into that. I think the industry kind of knows that they're catering towards the military defensive crowd now, and it's not just a 3-gun gamer optic. So I think they're going to follow along and do the right thing. The industry normally does the right thing when they're financially motivated to do so. Max. Max asks, what was the most difficult part of adjusting to life outside of the military? Man, that's almost its own episode. The honestly, the short answer to that question is I've never been an adult civilian. So I came in the Army and I was a child, and I joined on my 17th birthday, and I went directly from living in my parents' home as a kid to being taken care of by a drill sergeant, and then being taken care of by a platoon sergeant, and then at some point earlier than I probably had the maturity for, um, but because I was technically and tactically proficient, they were like, okay, well now you can be in charge of a team of people and then a squad of people, and before I knew it, I was taking care of others and I had just kind of become an adult, but I was still in the orchestrated, controlled environment of the military. Uh, if I didn't pay my bills, there was people that were going to make sure that I paid my bills. If I didn't, you know, provide food for my family, there was people that would make sure that I provided food for my family. Like it's kind of hard to screw up being a soldier if you listen to those that are around you whose job it is to keep you from being a dumbass. So life in the military was very, very safe. Uh, Forrest Gump probably hit the nail on the head with that. He took to the military like a fish to water because he just shut up and did what the people in charge of him told him to do, and he didn't have to overthink it. But anyway, I obviously matured and evolved into places where there was a lot less structure and a lot more free thought. But at the end of the day, I still knew where my paycheck was coming from. It was still going to hit my account every month on the first. I still dealt with other apex predators and alphas. It was very easy to come up and like knife hand another dude and be like, hey, clear communication right now. This is my problem with you, and this is why. All right, we're going to fight about it. Are you going to change yourself? Are you not going to change yourself and tell me no to go screw yourself, and I'm going to be okay with you continuing to be the way you are? Or are we going to have to like try to go talk to somebody else to adjudicate this for us and or separate the two of us? That's how you dealt with conflict in the military. And then I was thrown out onto the streets. Not thrown out, I retired and moved on, but now I'm out on the streets and I'm in this world that I've never been in before. And I'm dealing with people that I've never dealt with before. And they play by a completely different set of rules. Uh, And so I feel institutionalized like a convict that, shot somebody in a liquor store holdup when they were 18 and they get out and they're 40 and they have their life back. Well, the dude's a felon and he's never been in society and held a regular job in a civilian workforce a day in his life. He hadn't had to decide what clothes to wear in his entire adult life. He hasn't had to figure out where the next meal was coming from in his entire adult life. And and so that part of it has been extremely difficult for me because I am dealing with people that have no honor. And I'm dealing with them every single day. And I'm dealing with them in this industry, especially. And uh, I am back in society, especially having spent a significant portion of the last 16 years in places where I have seen the natural order of law and not society's facade of values and norms that we all agree to play by here in this country so that we can continue to be a member within this society. And so I have lived an adult life where uh, killing another human being is an acceptable form of conflict resolution. And you can't do that. Can't do that in regular society. Like it's not okay that you and me hate each other, so I'm gonna, you know, run over your head with the tire of my truck. Like that's not acceptable human performance. And I'm not having a problem adjusting to that because even downrange, you're still accountable for your actions. But what I'm saying is that I have seen societies where uh, the natural order of things was what dictated the day. And um, uh, so as a result of that, as a result of seeing that, and then having to go into an environment where, and essentially that's what this socialism thing going on in the country is all about. It's about uh, the weak um, imposing their will on the strong and disabling and disrupting the natural order of life and in the wild and in nature. And so the only power that the weak have over the strong is the power that the strong give them. And we are literally living in a country right now where we're handing the gun to the weak to turn around and shoot us in the head with, and it's extremely frustrating. So uh and yay, that's yay meds. So um that's been the hardest part about transferring to civilian world is I've just never done it. I have no experience. I've got zero experience being a civilian, and I kind of suck at it. I've been told. So, um, can you provide a brief explanation or Venn diagram of the tier system, specifically where the Ranger Regiment fits in? What tier is the Ranger Regiment in? Blah 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 blah. Asymmetric warfare group. Where do they fit in? Who staffs it? Who do they support? No, no. So there's a term. There are terms that have been exposed to the civilian community that were never intended for civilians to ever hear or know. And every one of you guys literally spews secret or top secret classified information out of your mouths every day. And as a security clearance holder, we are not authorized to confirm or deny classified material, especially leakage. So I know it's frustrating for civilians when they say, well, but yeah, I mean, so and so said where he worked, or whatever. Why won't you say this word or any of that other stuff? It's because there are very clear lines about where classification lies, and the command relationships, those two words together, command, what the command is, and the relationships between people under those commands. When do I report to this person? When do I report to that person? How do I support this other organization? Whatever. All of that is classified at a minimum, the secret collateral level, and some of it up to the top secret and top secret compartmentalist levels. And you're like, but, you know, such and such book came out 20 years ago. Yep. And there are books that exist in the wild right now that once you, a security clearance holder, get control of classified material, you have a responsibility to safeguard it. I have seen hard copy books straight out of Walden Books, wherever, in skiffs, boom, boom, top secret, boom, boom, secret. And that book, the one from Walden Books, cannot ever leave that skiff unless it's in a courier bag. Because the fact that it was published doesn't change the classification of the material that is contained within. So, as a top secret security clearance holder with a current national security poly on file, I don't have the luxury of being able to talk about the command relationships of any organizations specifically, because what I don't say will be as important, as just as important, if not more important, than what I say. Everything that you want to know is out there in black and white somewhere, and you can go find it. But I cannot confirm or deny it. I can tell you that the Asymmetric Warfare Group is assigned to TRADOC currently. When I was in the Asymmetric Warfare Group, it was a tenant unit assigned to the G3 section of the Pentagon. I have an Army staff badge on my Army service uniform to prove that I was assigned to the Army's staff as a member of the Asymmetric Warfare Group when it was activated. AWG is still a direct reporting unit and a special missions unit. What's a special missions unit? I don't know. Are there specific competition shooting habits which could be detrimental in a real world scenario, and how can shooters without your level of experience avoid them? Shooting fast. Shooting fast is detrimental in a real world situation because you are able to track your gun and pull the trigger faster than you can receive visual or auditory input from the subject that you are applying deadly force to when those conditions change. So, for example, if you shoot a guy in the head and you plan to shoot him 3 times fast, pow, 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 and you shoot him right through the medulla and cut the marionette string, and his body slumps faster than you can process through your optic that guy is going down. There's a difference between getting hurt and falling over, because you're still controlling yourself to the ground, and the immediate termination of all electro impulses to the human body. When a guy goes immediate ragdoll, the speed at which gravity takes over and that person's chassis collapses to the ground is scary. It is scary how fast that human soul left that body. Like, it's still to this day, like it shouldn't. It's still to this day trips me out when I see a dude get their strings cut. So you're shooting faster than the guy's body is now falling based upon gravity. Your eyes have to process that there's something changing, which is the dude falling. And then it has to send the neural transmissions down to your body. Keep the dot on the head, fucker. And then your muscles have to move in real time with the constant visual update of where your red dot is in order to track someone or shoot someone to the ground. And if you're firing in real time, nope, you are going to shoot where they were, not where they are. So you're going to send 3. The first is going to blow the dude's medulla out. The second might part his hair, might be a total miss. And the third is going to be into a void of space where that dude's melon used to occupy. When we talk about target-to-target transitions, and I will talk about it some more, but I've already talked about it. When you are shooting target-to-target in a competition, you cannot let your gun settle. So you punch out and you have to shoot a pair on a target. You are firing, and as the gun is resting, breaking back down somewhere into the C zone, you're commanding it to fire again. And as it recoils, you are done with that target. So on the bang of the second shot, the gun tracks up and right if you're a righty, and you're using that recoil to drive the gun over to the second target. So if we're firing an El Pres, you're going to get 6 sight pictures on 6 shots. If you are a tactical shooter and you've been given any instruction about follow through, if you shoot an El Pres, it's going to be bang, hit, settle, bang, hit, settle, be prepared to take a third shot, move, bang, bang, settle, move, bang, bang, settle, move. You're conducting follow through on target A, target B, and target C. Maybe not on target C if you feel the slide lock, because you're going to bring it in and start to do work if you're working a slide lock reload. So that's why tactical dudes are slow as shit on El Pres, because we're simulating I have to shoot to reassess. Yep. Move, shoot to reassess. Yep. And so we're subconsciously programming tactical thought into a game. The gamers didn't ask for no reassess. They didn't ask for no shoot it till it goes down. They told you shoot the motherfucker twice. That's the rules of the game. So dwelling on a target after the second bullet leaves the barrel is wasted time. And Jerry Micklick looked at me and he goes, you know that if you pull up a third sight picture, you might as well just pull the trigger. What are your splits? My splits are 2-0, 2-1. Yeah. So you're throwing at least a half second, at least, or a tenth of a second, excuse me, half of that. You're wasting a tenth of a second acquiring your red dot again after you fire that weapon. So that's a tenth of a second, a tenth of a second, a tenth of a second on the first 3, and then a tenth of a second, a tenth of a second, a tenth of a second on the second 3 engagements on the El Pres drill. You had 0.6 seconds of follow through in that run. It's done. First target's done. Bang, bang, done. Bang, bang, done. Bang, bang, done. And so to get a 4-second El Pres, to compete with these guys that are shooting enthusiasts and think that fucking games are the end of the world, if you want to beat them at their own game, you have to fundamentally deconstruct everything that would keep you out of jail and alive in a real gunfight. You got to take all that. Oh, that's real world shit. And if you don't have the mental processor to be able to, after all of these reps of no follow through and no shot accountability and no target feedback from the enemy about whether or not they're still there, if you can do that competing, and then when it's time, perform, then good on you. then competition is nothing but a positive, and you should do as much of it as you can. But if you're too dumb to figure out that if I practice this and practice this and practice this and practice this, and I'm not practicing some of this over here, and I don't have the processor speed to figure out which one I should be doing, then I'm going to screw this up when it comes real time. Then competition is going to hurt you. So I don't think that someone dabbling in competition and not really peeling back the layers of the onion and breaking, like, where can I get another hundredth of a second? Oh, this guy does this, and then mimicking that guy for 1,000 reps. As long as you're not doing that, dabbling in competition is okay. But if you think you're going to win some competition, you got to be in an entirely different mindset that is devoid of anything real world. And you just have to embrace it for what it is and go after it. That's what I'm doing right now. What is the best all-around plate carrier in your opinion? This is from Adam Willis. All-around best plate carrier in your opinion? And do you think a plate carrier with soft armor in the cummerbund is good to go for SWAT dudes? I don't think there's a best all-around plate carrier. I think that there's a whole lot of personal preference involved in plate carriers. The human equipment interface is huge when you're building up a combat armor system. SWAT dudes, again, this is one of these questions that hurts me. Do you think a plate carrier with an armored cummerbund is good to go for SWAT dudes? SWAT dude is a duty position. It's not a mission. And I carry gear for missions. So a SWAT dude can pull protection. A SWAT dude can pull HR. A SWAT dude can pull barricaded warrant. And all three of those are different kit setups for me. So if you don't have a scalable uniform policy and you're trying to one size fits all, you're going to end up hurting that officer, either overloading him or allowing him to be under armored. I am a believer in a full soft armor profile for LE for certain jobs. Exactly when and where those lines are, I have opinions based upon my DoD experience, and then a little bit based upon limited LE stuff that I've seen, but more myself, but more from more experienced officers that I've talked to. The light is right of the GWAT crowd has definitely pushed down into LE, but man, 8,000 feet up in the Hindu Kush is not sea level in the fall when it's nice and 50 degrees at your home location, and you're going to serve papers on a dude it's a violent guy and has gun charges and all this other stuff on him. I don't know if I would be knocking and announcing and going to do a job in just a plate carrier with side plates. And so what this officer is asking, Adam, I'm assuming you're a cop, buddy. What this officer is asking is, okay, because I'm not wearing a full up 3 Alpha vest, is just that strip of soft armor to cover me from the ass end of my side plate back across my kidneys to my back. Is that enough as opposed to a profiled upper along the back? Consider this like holster line or 3 or 9 o'clock on your body, head, front plate here, back plate here. So your side plates should be offset to the front. So at least that's how I do business. So my side plate is butted all the way up against the edge of my front plate so that there is no gap. There's only a seam, no gap. And then it's got a 3 alpha backer behind it. So I have soft armor coverage coming right up to about 9 o'clock. Should the armored cummerbund continue around to the back? Yes, sometimes, but there are some times where, like if I was on a rural manhunt, I might dump that rear piece to allow for more ventilation. If it's hot in Georgia in the summertime or whatever, I might keep my side plates, but not want 3 alpha soft armor on my kidneys. And I'm just, man, I'm gonna take the chance because I might go down from a heat exhaustion, running around out there and then briar patches and shit, looking for this guy with the dogs before I ever get shot at by this guy. Uh, Conversely, there could be hits where uh, not only do I want as much 3 alpha going up as high as I can, like the old school full up assault vests that were the deal back in the early 2000s. I might want a vest that looks more like that, and I might actually wear bicep protectors, which I've never worn downrange, not once. Not I have never fired a single round on the range wearing delta or bicep guards or whatever. But I'm seeing like the armored stuff Cry did, the armor stuff that were like rifle protected that were right around the shoulder. And if I was a Ram guy or whatever, I might actually look at wanting to put a rifle plate up on that side that I'm going to be turning to the door and really getting after. I had one guy that I was on a team with. He ran double side plates, 2 6x6s. He ran one butted up against the back plate and one butted up against the front plate. And his little skinny ass, they would actually sit and touch. So he had like scaled. He had 4 6x6 plates, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and then a front and back plate. So he had uh, zero gap rifle coverage going all the way around the main torso of his body. Hey man, that was his thing. Uh, I do think that as cops, uh, that way too many guys are leaning towards plate carriers as a primary assault setup, and they're just foregoing their soft armor, and they're not looking at the stats that pistols are still out there. They're still prevalent. I think the Velocity Systems soft armor package, as opposed to a shaped plate backer of 3 alpha, is better, even if it sticks out an inch and a half on either side. That's an extra inch and a half that you catch a 9 mil round that will save your life. That wouldn't have if it had missed the plate on a JPC2. So you gotta do some real good justification math to me if I was a supervisor and you came to me and said, "Yeah, we're going to wear JPC2s now on this SWAT team." Like, really? Like, you're going to wear a JPC2 with side plates, and that's going to be your armor package for everything? Nah, I can't support it. Can't I can't sign off on that as a supervisor. Uh, you need to be able to scale it. Show me some cock plates, man. Show me some hanging down soft armor flaps for certain gigs. Bring to me some scalable armor packages with some side protection. Show me some more 3 alpha up under the up on it. I'm not saying I'm going to make you run out in the woods with that shit on. I specifically don't want you to run around in the woods with that shit on. There might be ops that where you wear no armor, where you wear load bearing vest and a boonie cap, and I send you out after bad guys. But you can't when it's 50 yards from the Bearcat to the front door at Breach. You can't like the JPC2 is not. It's not impressing me. It's not impressing me as a primary assault armor. It's not. Um, I ain't bagging on JPC2. I love me some JPC. Uh, Although I currently wear a Blue Force gear, and I that's just a personal preference thing. I like the Blue Force gear because it's got the front plate, the side plate pockets are sewn into the front panel, so it makes butting my armor up easier and ensure that I've got seamless coverage. Yeah, Paul Reese asked about my favorite AR rail handguard. I have not done side by side testing between the CAC URX for the wedge lock and the pinch lock yet. Um, I like all the Geisley rails as far as rigidity. They're really good. I have no reason not to trust them up to this point. Um, just keep in mind that Geisley and ALG are different companies for a reason. And so an ALG rail is going to have more of your like sporty attachment stuff, like the old Troy rails and the VTAC and all that stuff. You know, where they were just throwing a couple pins in there and they were real light and real, but a lot of flex. And if you're just mounting up on a barricade, man, let that damn thing flex all day long if you're not putting a laser on it. But there's a reason why there's ALG rails and there's Geisley rails. Don't confuse the two, because I actually did, and I got called out for it. I was like, oh, I didn't know. I thought people were just saying ALG because they were too dumb slash lazy slash can't spell like me to write out the word Geisley. And I know two different companies, dummy. I was like, oh, okay, oops, my bad. Um, what is the most reliable and stable mounting interface for the 14? It's Wilcox, a Wilcox mount and a Wilcox PVS 14 adapter. What is my go-to rifle and why? Adrian Gonzalez. Oh, it's the one that's closest to me. That's what people always say or whatever. But no, for real, it's the one that's closest to me. For most stuff, now I'm building some AR pistol action. I'm probably, because I'm liking 12 and a half as a good all around barrel length. So 12 and a half SBR or 12 and a half pistol. I've got an 11 and a half Knights upper that is going on a pistol lower right now. I'll be playing with that as well in the future. See how I like it. One of the things I've learned is that barrel length does not necessarily equal a drastically improved capability. I had a 20-inch 7.62 gas gun, and I had a 16-inch 7.62 gas gun, and every single thing that I shot with the 20-inch, I could have shot with the 16-inch. Looking back in hindsight, and so I was carrying this longer platform with all this other whatever, and it was like, man, yeah, I'm losing velocity. Yeah, my come ups are going to be higher. I've got to be more Johnny on the spot with the data and the computer for longer shots. But man, when I'm using this thing to take low percentage shots on people at under 300 yards, it's really not hurting me all that much. It's really not hurting me all that much. And I'm saying low percentage from the standpoint of that's all they're giving me, looky looing around corners and shit. Not like, oh damn, I don't want the extra accuracy because I got to make a no fail shot in the eyeball with a chick's head in front of it. In those types of situations, the extra accuracy aspect of it was much better. But on the shorter guns, man, they were good enough accurate for doing what I wanted them to do. So I'm just kind of applying that logic that I learned with big, heavy, clunky sniper rifles, and I'm trying to apply it to my assault rifles now. Like, I really like 14 and a half inch guns, but they're such a pain in the ass because they got to be pinned, and then you're stuck with flash hiders. And if you change your mind later, then what the heck. And I've had to do that. I had some guns that had surefire hiders on them, and I wanted them upgraded to war comps, and they were pinned and welded, and I had to pay out the ass to try to salvage those barrels and get those pin and welded hiders off to put on war comps or whatever. So I think a 12 and a half inch gun with a low power variable optic a 14.5-inch gun with a low power variable optic, a 12.5-inch gun with a red dot. I think those are all really, really good, solid setups. I choose my flashlights based on the job that I want the rifle to do and then the overall system weight. So unlike a lot of people, there are a lot of dudes, and they're not night vision dudes, that they're in the low light game. So if you're using your rifle, perimeter rifle, to throw out an LE term, so you want a kind of SPR-ish gun, but it's going to not be used in the night vision spectrum. Well, then you're going to need a bright ass light on it. So that's where you see like the big heavy 3-cell Furies and all that shit, because you're trying to get and throw as much luminance out there because you're literally spotlighting human beings. I ain't never spotlighted a human in my life. So my lights are interior work lights. That's what they're there for. So the heavier the rifle is, like SPRs and shit, the smaller the flashlight gets for me, because that gun's primary job wasn't going to be going in and clearing a house. So if I'm doing it, I'm already compromising shit. So on like an SPR, like which one of these guns do I want to grab? So like on this Hodge gun, this is one of the Marisol Defense rifles. So on this Hodge gun, this thing is set up to be a daytime, outsidey gun. I've got a Heathen Assaulter bipod on there. My war comp, I've got it offset to the right a little bit, so I can use this thing for gaming if I want to. I've got this Steiner 1-5 on this old LaRue mount. This setup is for sale, by the way. If anybody, especially you Texans that are stuck to 5-power optics, any of you guys want this Steiner 1-5 with LaRue, I will throw it in the mail and send it to you for the right price. This gun's decently weighted. It's got I don't think it's got a super heavy profile barrel. So the weight on this gun is not all that bad. So this gun would probably get an M600 light on it. You know what I mean? Hold on for a second. Got to go get the living room gun. All right. So the living room gun. This is my oldest AR that I own. This is a LaRue Stealth upper on a LaRue billet lower. It's got an all stainless steel, heavy profile, barrel, 13.2-inch rail. This is like, light fighter tactical, the shit back in, 2000, whatever. And this is one of my wife's guns. It has one of the original M300 mounts or lights on it on a danger close mounts. This light's, a whopping 120 lumen or something like that. It ain't a lot on a danger close mount. Still works. Pew, pew, pew. And I've got an ACOG with a doctor on top and a 4X LaRue tactical jarhead mount that cantilevers the optic further back on the rear. And this gun's heavy. This gun's heavy as hell, man. This stainless steel heavy profile barrel and all that pick rail. This gun is a beast, but it's an absolute tack driver. So this gun will continue to have a single cell flashlight on it. I do have one of the brand new 500 lumen M300s. Going to replace this light. I'm going to put a tail cap on this, take it off this danger close mount, and it's going to turn into a handheld for my wife taking the dog out to go poop at night. So that's what's up. That's my philosophy on lights. It's 180 out, different from Steve's, because Steve is trying to teach guys low light. He's trying to teach them to use their rifles in perimeter work at night with a flashlight, spotlighting human beings. Totally different job. Totally different job. I don't envision employing a weapon that way. If I was on a ranch and I had like a 16-inch battle rifle, like 7.62 or something, and I was worried about shit coming into my yard and my ranch in Wyoming or Montana, yeah, I'm not gonna have time to throw nods on every time I hear something go bump outside or whatever. So I might want to have a 16-inch or a 14.5-inch pinned battle rifle in 6.5 or 7.62 with a one to whatever variable, so like a heavy metal setup gun with a 3-cell bright ass light on it, so I could step out on the front porch, boom, who dat, and see what's up in my yard before I start slinging hot lead at transients walking through my shit or whatever. Different jobs. Right now, I don't have an outside rural nighttime need that I need to have a lot of lumens set up on my AR. Okay. All right. That covers all of the patron supporters questions that were on Patreon. Now let me go back and look at chat, guys. I've been not paying attention to chat. We're at 2 hours now. I figure we'll go maybe another 30 minutes or so. I'll go as long as you guys want to go, but I don't want this to get stupid either. So yeah, chat. I'm now back up on chat. 416 or Mark 18, which do you like better? 416, 110% and then some. Mark 18 was too gassy, too hot, got shot out too quick. I shot out 416 barrels quick and quicker. No, that's not true. Disregard that. I shot out a 416 barrel. I had a stainless steel 416 barrel that was not chrome line, and I shot that thing out in 10,000 rounds. But the round barrel life of a Mark 18 on a team based off shooting frange and shooting a lot of high rep NSR style drills suppressed, those barrels were done at 6,000 rounds. Done. Hot dog down a fucking hallway in 6,000 rounds. So, I mean, if you work in a place where it's like, oh, my gun is 2.5 MOA now, give me a new barrel, and somebody goes, okay, and they drop another barrel in your gun, yeah, fine, burn them up, you do you, boo boo. But as far as like buy once, cry once, I would never pay for a Mark 18 upper unless I was doing like a clone build or something like that, just because of how fast they burn out. That's why I don't own any 10.5-inch gas guns. The shortest barrel I'm going to go with is this 11.5 CAC because I've just heard such good things about it. So, what else we got? You wonder if teaching tactical thought to most CCW holders makes sense. I don't know. I'm not marketing my material to any one demographic over another. People pay to take classes, and I can teach everything from pistol efficiency, regardless of tactical outcome, all the way up to advanced closed enrollment, government only programs of instruction. So I see people all the time that take classes that they don't need, but people don't need to fucking go skiing or play golf, and they spend an enormous amount of money doing those things. So I'm okay. We talk about space camp, gun camp, all that shit in the industry. I'm okay with that. I just think that people should quit trying to sell an experience as real world relevant experience. Like, dude, come to gun camp and get to do some shit that civilians don't get to do. And when you leave here, very little of what you learn will have any type of practical application in your everyday life. It's still cool as fuck. Skydiving doesn't have any practical application in your everyday life unless you got a sport rig under your desk and you're on the 89th floor of the World Trade Center. So, I'm going to teach based off of my optic of my experiences. And people understand that optic when they sign up for my classes. And so they don't have to come to my class. That maybe Matt Jaquie's uh, fighting from concealed carry class is 10 times more relevant to what the average accountant needs to know to carry an on-body Glock 19 in the preservation of their lifestyle and their everyday life. Okay, that guy wasn't in my demographic, so good on him. I'm glad he went and took a class with Jake. We'll probably learn some shit. I need to go take a class from Jake. Go learn some shit. Uh, Delta Point Pro versus RMR. Delta Point Pro seems more susceptible to rain, which is a huge concern. Uh, it has a battery life that's exponentially less. It does not allow you to dim the dot uh, without cycling through the functions, or brighten the dot without cycling through the functions. It has a single button that goes up and up and down, as opposed to the RMRs left and right. So if you are looking to take a shot and your dot's off, you can't just reach up and hit the left or the right side and adjust it just a little bit more and get back into the game or the fight. It's a much more deliberate process. The Delta Point Pro really almost eliminates the ability to use irons because the housing of the Delta Point Pro is up so high that uh, it, the, it's not even a 1/3 co-witness; it's a 1/10 co-witness. The your ability to truly use the iron sights to fight with, if your Delta Point Pro went out, I have serious reservations about. Also about the mounting option of the rear sight. I've heard the rear sight moves moves around quite a bit or whatever. Uh, you know that's my thoughts on the Delta Point Pro and why I haven't gone in that direction. I think that electronically it is uh, one of the most durable, if not the most durable, red dot for slide mounting. I've not played with the RMR handgun optic yet, but uh, the Delta Point Pros that I was around that were in testing performed flawlessly from an electronic standpoint. Like there wasn't dots disappearing, dots jumping, dots flickering, dots doing anything crazy until rain was introduced. And then you got starbursting effects in the field of view. But uh, as far as hammering day in, day out on that slide reciprocation and having the electronics inside of the Delta Point Pro go bad, nope, nope. But battery will go bad. Battery will go bad quick. Uh, my RMR dots last forever. There's a secret. You know why Trigicon's shit has got that blue tint? That's the polarization of the lens to allow for the reflection of the red dot using less electronic power. So the MRO and RMR are coated lenses so that they don't have to use as much juice to make the dot look bright. So when you guys say, "Oh, I hate that blue tint. I want clear." Well, you can have clear, but you can't have clear with the battery life of blue tint. Blue tint beats clear every time. Pro tip. Um, best way to schedule a class for press check is to message me on Facebook or either at my personal account. Even if you're not friends to me, you can still put in a message request to me or to the Press Check Consulting page on Facebook, and then we can exchange information and email after that and whatever. Um, once I get my admin stuff squared away, I do have an info at Press Check email account that you'd be able to contact and do whatever. But that shit's not up and running full time yet. Right now, it just forwards it to my another account. What is some space camp training that I wish that I could take? I got nothing. Uh, I've been very, very fortunate. You know, I've shot people from helicopters. I've done shit in boats. I've uh, driven around with cars, ran over people, ran into people. So there's very few like tactical experiences that that like are on my bucket list. Like, fuck, man, I have never done that. I think I think doing some pogue mechanized stuff would be pretty cool. Like I could get on board gunning a Bushmaster on a Brad or gunning on an M1 tank in like an invasion of Fallujah type scenario where I'm like firing main guns into the second floor, smoke checking dismounts in the open with coax or whatever. Uh, that's probably the only shit that I haven't done. Uh, I've been in the simulators and and I caught a ride in an M1 tank one time when I got pinned down behind enemy lines in at JRTC, and the tankers came and pulled my guys out because I had multiple wounded, but and I ended up getting a ride in the tank on the way back to the fob. But yeah, I mean, I guess that would probably be the pinnacle of my man camp band camp with guns experiences. Let me take a M1 Abrams to Africa and fucking hose a bunch of people with it or something. Uh, I have no experience with Vaxxon barrels. None. Pen and welded 14.5s are cool. Yes, they're cool. I like them. Um, is that extra little bit a difference? Especially not if you're not gonna run suppressed. Absolutely not. There's nothing wrong with a 17-inch barrel or a 16-inch barrel with a flash hider. Doesn't hurt nothing. Uh, but I've got suppressors. I run Surefire, some variant of Surefire flash hider, brake, or war comp on. I think every weapon I own. I don't think I have anything that doesn't have a Surefire hider on it because I've got a 212 floating around somewhere. I've got a SOCOM can. I've got a SOCOM mini. I've got a 7.62 SOCOM. So I'm pretty tight on Surefire products, and that's just the big thing is I don't have time to be fucking around with ATF paperwork all the time or whatever. So it's not that I can't afford to have a huge suppressor collection, but I just don't. It's just too much of a hassle for me to constantly be dropping ATF paperwork unless I'm going to keep it on a business account or whatever. And then if I have a can that I can only shoot on one gun, it's just kind of I like the fact that hey, this can I can grab any rifle and either choose to put a can on it or not, or choose to put a mini can on it or not. With every AR I own, I mean, why wouldn't I want to do that? That seems to me like just a really easy. Kane ran into people, ran over people. Yeah. You know, there was a lot of vehicle operations that happened in Iraq, especially earlier on in the war before things got really really bad IED wise. There was a lot of trunk monkey shit happening, driving out in civilian vehicles and doing different stuff and whatever. And then so yeah, I've at various times when I was in asymmetric warfare group, I used to do it a lot. I used to drive around civilian vehicles a lot in AWG because the battle space owner wouldn't allow his guys to go out, and my people pretty much didn't know what I was doing. So if they needed me to scout out a road in front of an armored convoy or whatever, I could jump in a Muj's car and drive out in front of all the dudes um, looking for pressure plates and triggermen and things like that. And I could hodge up and yeah, I'm sure somewhere there was probably a policy letter from at the like Iraqi theater level, MNFI, MNCI level saying no soldier can leave out of the wire unless he's in level 6 armored vehicle or whatever. But yeah, whatever. What if I blow myself up? Who are they going to yell at? The only person I'm putting in danger is me. So my I think my baddest vehicle was I had a trike, uh, like a 3-wheeled motorcycle with ape hangers on it, and I was in full assault kit, and I drove that thing back to the fob one night. That was pretty cool. So yeah, there's a lot of driving around in vehicles back early in the day. Yep. All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left. Last chance for questiones before we go ahead and cut this off. You guys had some pretty good questions today. I'm impressed. Biofreeze. If you don't know what's up, you need to get on board. Got this tendonitis. Got the tendonitis from shooting guns too much. I used to think that was impossible. I mean, I knew it wasn't, but I used to didn't think that there was any way that you could grip a handgun and squeeze on it enough that you could get tennis elbow. But between that and playing catch with that goddamn Malin one I own. Come on, guys. No more questions. We're going to cut it off. Unless you guys got a last question for the group. Thoughts on going LEO? My local agency is hiring. Problem with that, and obviously this is going to come up again, just so you guys know, that whole Lake Arthur bullshit is not over with. Bloomberg is going to put out an article next week, and my name and the accident are going to be featured in the article. So I'm about to get my fucking reputation drugged through the mud again on national fucking news, and there's nothing I can do about it. They want to disparage the Second Amendment, and they're going after some of the pro-Trump guys that were associated with that program or whatever. So I just gotta fucking deal with that. But that being said, I'm probably toxic to any local law enforcement officer that was to bring me on, because as soon as the internet finds out that I'm doing work again, no matter how righteous that work is, they're going to immediately focus their optic on that department and be like, hey, what the fuck, you hired this guy, whatever. And so the whole shit show is just going to follow me to wherever else I go. So it would have to be a real patriot law enforcement officer that has zero fucks to give, that would be like, hey, come on, I want you to to be a part-timer on my department and help us with our carbine qual semi-annually and come out here and run the road with our guys and whatever. And and then knowing the shitstorm of haterade that's going to come down on him as a result of offering me that position. Is it fair? No, it's not fair. It's completely unfair. I'm at this point, I'm looking at different departments or different states that I can go do post at. And I will pay for post out of pocket if I have to, if post is a requirement in order to be able to do work again. But now is not a good time. It's bad timing for me in my life and where everything's stacking out or whatever. And so Bloomberg wants to hose Mercer because Mercer's a Trump money guy, and the program was so large that there were some bad hires, and Bloomberg has gone through and they found all these horror stories about people that have abused their privilege of service, and whatever, and my story is going to get lumped in with all of that other shit, and the fact that I was in a private residence and wasn't on HR 218, so I didn't need a concealed carry permit or a freaking badge. I was in somebody's home as their guest. I could have a fucking gun. Homeowner said I could. Just because that doesn't fit into their narrative, that doesn't mean they're not going to report it. I still got people saying that I got pissed off at somebody and fought them in a bar and whipped out my shit and shot them. Since when has the truth ever mattered to certain people on the internet? So that's coming next week. Yay! Be looking for it on an instructor's Facebook page near you. My favorite MRE was Generation 2 chicken and rice. So the original MRE came in a dark brown bag, and it had 12 meals. And then Generation 2 was the first tan bag MREs, and those replaced all the ones that got eaten during Desert Shield Desert Storm. And they had a new menu variety, and that's when they started putting candy inside of the meal. So meal 11, the old chicken and rice, had the most volume of accessories. It also had Reese's Pieces as the dessert. We got our first Gen 2 meals when I was in Ranger School in 1992. And a kid from West Point was walking across the patrol base, and he was pouring out M&Ms into his hand. And the Ranger instructor fucking pointed at him from in the op order and said, "You, come here," and immediately started processing him to be dropped from the course for having unauthorized fucking food. And he said, "I got these out of the MRE." And the instructor's like, "Bullshit. There's no candy in MREs." This is pre. I don't even think there was Charms in the first original MREs. I think it was all chocolate covered brownie and chocolate covered cookie bar and maple nut cake and fruit cake, and it was all like military shrink packaged. There was no regular candy tossed into the bag. So literally the RIs had to call back to base on their brick radios and say, "Go to supply, get a case of MREs. I need the supply sergeant to inventory meal 1 through meal number 12 by subcomponent item, have that typed out and prepared to hand off to the RIs during the next RI changeover." And because the kid is in tears, Because the RI is like, you're a fucking liar. You're never going to have your tab. You're going to be drummed out of the Army because you're an infantry officer and you're going to be a tabless bitch. Fuck you, West Point kid. I'm going to burn you to the ground for sneaking a fucking pack of M&Ms out here. And other people are like, Sergeant, I too have an M&M. Sergeant, I've got Reese's Pieces over here. And the guy's like, what the fuck? Is this a Halloween fucking thing going on? Like, he was freaking the fuck out. And it took about 24 hours for Ranger School to figure out that they had added regular candy to the MREs. So in hindsight, it was kind of funny. At that time, my heart went out to that young West Point officer because that kid was getting his shit pushed in by that RI. And there was nothing that he was going to say that was going to convince him. Like, it was like trying to tell him that the sky wasn't blue and that the sky was actually purple. And so that's my favorite MRE. Number 11, chicken and rice. Do I want a copy of Escape from Tarkov? I am not PC gaming right now. I'm not really gaming at all. I finished Far Cry, and I haven't started anything else. I'm screwing around a little bit with Battlefield 1 because I bought a Battlefield 1 Xbox One and then never played Battlefield 1. So I'm actually going back and dicking around with that a little bit until the next game comes out. But I'm really with this emphasis on trying to get my skills back up to what they were. You know, that's taken up a lot of more of my time. I'm trying to get to the range almost every single day because I've come to the understanding and the realization that I can't just sit back and think about my glory days. There was a lot of stuff that I had to work on every single day to have that level of capability. And it took a long time for that level of capability to atrophy off, but it's going to take not equally as long, but it's going to take some time to get it back too. And I can't ignore the fact that that I just haven't put the reps in that I did when I was active duty because let's face it, I'm not here to save the world anymore. And I don't have that responsibility of other people's lives on my shoulders every day. I'm retired. I don't have a badge. I'm not in the military. I can't be recalled to active duty. I mean, I guess they could, but they're not gonna. I have to take care of me and my family. And my shooting, it's absolutely good enough to do that. It's not good enough to save the world, not anymore. And if I want to teach people, SWAT men, professionals, standing up for their communities, last line of defense, I want to teach these guys to make the no fail shot. I got to be able to make the no fail shot. So I have to regain a level of capability that I have let slip in order to be able to stand in front of men and speak intelligently and and teach intelligently about absolute no fail marksmanship, which is what I want to do. So that's where I'm going, and there's no time for gaming as a result, or minimal time for gaming as a result. Status of my 2011 project. Good question. Not my Shadowhawk is in the it's in the build queue. I got to contact Nighthawk Custom and find out where the hell my gun's at. It should have been here by now. So um, I got to figure out what is your problem, Misha. Come here. Somebody said they wanted me to pet you. Come here. Come here. Come here, you savage. Misha. Come here. Come here. Get up here. No. Oh, you can take her too? Okay. All right, Misha can go for a ride with mommy. That's right. Get out of this house, hooker. So Kane's asking about personal fitness routine. I am doing physical therapy related stuff, mobility stuff, trying to regain some range of motion. I'm orthopedically jacked bilaterally in my knees, ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, lower back, and neck. Uh, so that's some of my stacked VA disability stuff. Um, so Olympic lifts are not, they're not possible. Running is not. Even if I through diet alone and low impact cardio got down to my fighting weight, I still have limited um, distance on both of these knees. My left knee, the doctor said, and I think you guys are Catholics, said that my meniscus in my left knee is essentially about as thick as a communion wafer, so less than an eighth of an inch of meniscus left in my left knee. So my PTs, the ones that I had when I retired, they were telling me that because of my limited amount of miles left, that I needed to uh, avoid those types of impact because I'm going to have to get my knee replaced. If I get it replaced now, based on the current quality of replacement knees, I'm going to have to get it replaced again, unless I die of a heart attack. If I can push and kick this can down the road another 10 years, if I can hold out on these knees, then I can get my knees replaced, and the replacement knees will last me until I die. So I'll have one complete knee replacement job, either single or bilaterally, as opposed to having to get two. So I can't run, I can't ruck anymore. And those were my primary two cardio events before I got jacked up. So low impact cardio and functional movement, stretches, and things like that are where I'm at right now as far as a fitness regimen. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to the Beaver Channel I mentioned too. I need to get some press check product out there. I'll tell you that much. Uh, you guys, the reason, the amount of effort, the reason why I'm putting in this effort to these podcasts and things like that, or Q and A's, is because literally, as a result of multiple circumstances and everything, in the month of May, you guys are my only industry related income whatsoever. I have zero classes this month. I have zero checks for consulting services, going to going to trade shows, anything. I am making I am making no money off of the firearms industry in the month of May, uh, other than you guys. So I'm living off my retirement check and your guys' humble contributions. So what are advantages of Surefire cans over other cans? Don't know. I have only ever shot Knights and Surefire cans. I have not ever shot anybody else other than testing. Um, the Surefire cans aren't always the most quiet out of the group, but they are extremely durable. Um, Other honorable mentions: Sig's cans when Brittingham was over there and he designed were good. AAC's old original line, pretty much anywhere Brittingham goes, any can that Kevin helps in design, it's good to go. Um, I was kind of impressed with Mark Larue's cans. They were kind of cool. I know that from a price standpoint, Surefire cans are expensive, but they seem to last forever. And they can handle high firing schedules, and um, at the end of the day, it turns into a flash hider compatibility issue. If I only need to pay for a full size SOCOM and a mini SOCOM, and that covers me across all of my 5.56 guns, to me that's a simple fix. If I got a Predatober with a LaRue can on it, then that LaRue can's only good for that Predatober. Uh, So that's kind of my thought process on why Surefire. Obviously I've got a Winkler Hawk. This question is Winkler Hawk or something else. Why do I have a Winkler Hawk? So Winkler Hawks are awesome. Something else, if you're truly going to be using your Hawk for prying, breaching, doing all that stuff, then I suggest you go talk to Blowers. I think he's RMJ or something like that. Like my Tomahawk existed for one reason, and that was fucking cutting humans. So I didn't. It wasn't chosen for any other design characteristics not to be able to be used as a in extremis door breaching tool, a pry bar, no cleaving skulls and shit like that. Like that's what that Tomahawk did or does. That's what it was designed for. I have not seen a Surefire bolt carrier group. I think I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it in person. Yes, the new Magpulse pressure cover I am very interested in, and I will be getting one. I would love it if they sent me one of their prototypes for a mini. That I think that would be really cool. I would like to have one of those on uh, a truck gun um, setup. So a 12 and a half or even shorter than that suppressed gun with with a cover on that. Maybe not with the mini that short, but um, I don't like to put the mini on anything shorter than 12 and a half. But sometimes I'll do it just to cheat because I just want the short. I want the short length, and I don't really care about the signature. uh, Joe Levi, Vortex UH1H. I am extremely disappointed that they did not put a night vision setting on that thing. Uh, I like an EOTech style reticle. The LCO from Leopold is expensive as fuck for what it is. So I have been in search for a 30 millimeter glass box instead of circle that's going to allow more light transmission for a night assault gun. But I can't have an optic on a night assault gun that isn't NV capable, and the Huey is not NV capable. It's a critical error on Vortex's part. Those guys are kind of local to me. Like it makes me want to pick up a phone and just tell them, dudes, like help me help you, man. Uh, the HD2 Razor and the Huey should both have night vision settings. Neither has night vision settings right now. So concealed bags is the simple answer to how do you secure, how can you secure truck guns? You can secure them in locked boxes. You can take them with you in or take them with you in concealed bags when you go in places. That's the two short answers to how do you secure truck guns. So uh, I don't have a truck gun here in Washington because there's an entirely different criminal element here than there is back in North Carolina. And and with the amount of sanctuary city um, free injection site, like free range radical socialism that's going on up here, the amount of um, subhuman humans that run around in the streets up here is pretty bad. And by subhuman, I mean like they don't they completely discard the rule of law. Uh, like I get it. I don't agree with everything in the rule of law either, but I also understand that if the second that I decide not to play by society's rules, I'm accepting the consequences for whatever that's going to be. And that's what the free range socialist doesn't get. That's what the anarchist here doesn't get. They don't understand the concept of their personal responsibility and taking personal responsibility for their actions. So they have no problems whatsoever with the smash and grab. So I've got to begrudgingly, because I love having me some truck gun, I have to begrudgingly agree with Chuck Haggard about the dangers of leaving an unsecured weapon in a vehicle in this type of criminal environment. Go-to red dot on NVG gun is EOTech until somebody makes something better. The T2 is apparently better in night vision mode than the T1 is. I need to test that out. I don't own any T2s. Blowers loves his on his night assault gun. I was poo-poo talking the micro for its lack of field of view, which directly affects light transmission and blooming and a bunch of other shit. And Blowers being a good buddy, he didn't like bust me out in the middle of the shooter symposium class when I was shit talking and saying that micros were completely worthless for night vision guns. But he came to me afterwards, was like, "Hey man, the T2 works pretty damn good." So I need to go back and look at the the T2 for a night assault gun. But LCO is good to go. Just expensive as shit and only gives you a dot. I like a reticle, not a dot. T2, if it works and you get the light transmission you need, good to go, except for it's a dot, not a reticle. Huey, great reticle, doesn't work in the dark. Vortex doesn't work. HD2 doesn't work in the dark. So yeah, it's a forgive the pun, it's a dark time in the industry for a good night vision optic since the XPS decided to shit the bed. I'm not saying I wouldn't put an XPS on a gun and take it to gunfight tomorrow. I would. Probably just wouldn't trust it after 2 years. I know that it's going to break, and then I'd have to send it in for warranty work or something. But all right, guys, we're at 2:39. Last question. Let's see. What do we got? Hollow Sun. Really? Come on now. That's a great question, King. Why do I like a reticle? If when rapidly shouldering the gun, if you're not directly in your eye box, the larger reticle will let you know how far off you are, and it alerts you while the dot is still outside of the glass in which direction the dot is outside of the glass. So if I come up in some cattywampus shit, I'm in a gas mask, rolled up under a desk, tuning dudes in white lab coats up or something, and I can't see my dot, I lose it for a second as I change body position and roll over fucking prone in the laboratory. I'll be able to see the shadow of the outside edge of the reticle and be like, oh shit, I need to bury my head further to the right, and that is going to bring the dot into my field of view so that I can go ahead and break the shot. So at 65 MOA, I've got all this other MOA out here that's cueing me to my 1 MOA dot that's right over here. Also, shooting dudes that are running fast. When a guy is running full value across you for his life, your reticle of your aim point ends up in space in front of him. And so if you're trying to apply an NSR on a moving guy, your dot reticle looks like pow, 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 pow. And it's coming up and getting it back down and then applying the same distance in space in front of this guy to hit him with more than one round is extremely hard. And I know this from shooting steel movers at speed. We've got steel movers where I used to work that go fast, like up to 10 miles an hour. fast. And the guys that had red dots, when they were shooting rapid fire, they were having to compensate for recoil and then reestablish their lead and then break another shot and then break another shot. And the dudes that had reticles, at some point, you are far enough off of the bad guy with your primary dot that the ellipse of your reticle could be used as an alternate aiming point. So I would ignore the primary red dot and I would take the circle of the 65 MOA and I would ram it right up on the trail edge of the tombstone. So now as my gun's rocking, I have not a point in space, but a lineup of the EOTech reticle on the ass end of the steel, EOTech reticle on the ass end of the steel, EOTech reticle on the ass end of the steel. Only person that has ever beat me on moving steel was Mike Voigt. Miklik couldn't even get it right. He was shooting too fast. He got off in front of the steel and just he looked like a sewing machine. He was shooting faster than he could process information. Only guy that ever beat me on moving steel is Mike Voigt. You want to fuck around and get shot with me? Run for your life, but don't run away from me. Don't run at a 45-degree angle to me. Run 90 degrees across in front of me because you think that that's going to be the hardest lead. I will put you the fuck down. And so as a result of that, when I only have a dot, I've got to slow down my cadence and I've got to line. And then essentially until you get a piece of a dude, you're doing this with your dot in between shots. Pow, damn, that missed. I saw some shit kick up behind him. Pow, damn, that missed. I saw some shit kick up in front of him. Pow, you see him. And oh fuck yeah, that's it. Pow, 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 pow. And you're trying to shoot until his little legs stop moving. And so you've got to hold that exact same distance. Pow, 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 consistently out in space. And dump more lead into this guy until you crack the chassis or he psychologically checks out and trips and falls. And then it's dot to dude until he just quits damn movement. So that's why reticles are the shit. And with that, guys, we're at 2 hours and 44 minutes. Thank you for coming in for Q&A. I'm going to release this to the $10 and up patrons, and then I'm going to open it up to the to everybody else and all of the patrons in another week or two or whatever, or however I have it figured out. So that's all I got, guys. I enjoyed spending a little time on Sunday with you. It makes me very happy to answer questions for people that I think might actually need to know some of this information. You guys are great, very therapeutic, dealing with you cats and giving back to the community. So thank you for the bottom of my heart. And thanks for helping me pay my bills, since apparently nobody else in the industry wants to give me any money for fucking making them rich. Boom. That's all I got. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be good to each other. Take care of your family. Take care of yourself, and stay tuned.